What defines goodness? To be courageous is good. Courage means confronting one's fears head-on. There exists no morality devoid of bravery. A morality without courage is merely cowardly hypocrisy. So declared Zarathustra, the voice I adopted to proclaim truths to the world, truths the majority would rather bury beneath comfortable falsehoods. And you, listening to me, do you believe yourselves to be good? Do you imagine your pursuit of a luminous and virtuous life brings you closer to greatness? How utterly deluded you are. Your supposed goodness is often the most pathetic mask of weakness. Your denial of what you term the dark side is, in reality, the root of your misery, your mediocrity, your very insignificance. I speak to you, the one who hides from their own strength, who castrates their passions in the name of a bland peace. I speak to you who fears gazing into their own abyss, who finds comfort in the notion that the absence of evil signifies the presence of good. Arthur, what you label your dark side, those uncontrolled passions, those selfish impulses, those unrestrained ambitions, that primordial fury, that will to dominate, that unmitigated thirst for life, is not something to be repressed. It is not a demon to be exorcised. It is the sacred fire, the raw material of your being, the Dionysian force that, if stifled, will consume you from within rather than liberate you. And I assure you, repressing yourselves does not make you better. It makes you weak. It makes you slaves. Look around you. Observe the plague of mediocrity that afflicts the human spirit. From where does it originate? From this fundamental cowardice to embrace the totality of your being. You have been taught that certain parts of you are evil, immoral, dangerous. You have been instilled with fear of your own nature. This is the morality of slaves, which inverts the values of life. A morality that glorifies humility, compassion, and self-denial while condemning pride, strength, and individual affirmation. This morality is nothing more than the revenge of the weak against the strong, resentment disguised as virtue. Among you who call yourselves civilized, you have transformed your most powerful instincts into something shameful. Your ambition becomes greed, your passion a sin, your healthy self-esteem arrogance. What irony! That which could propel you to excel, to create, to conquer your own destiny, you condemn to internal ostracism. And in doing so, you do not kill these impulses. You merely poison them. You transform them into a pestilential swamp within your own spirit, a mire where self-aversion, guilt, and a subtle yet corrosive weakness breed. Think about it carefully. What truly drives you? Is it not a profound desire to affirm yourselves, to leave your mark, to experience life in its fullness, even in its rawest and most challenging aspects? This is the will to power, the fundamental force I dared to name. It is not merely a will to dominate others, not solely tyranny. It is the will to grow, to overcome, to create new values, to become who you truly are, surmounting every obstacle, even your own weakness. And this will to power in its purest form contains elements that your paltry morality would deem dark. The aggressiveness to dismantle the old, the ruthlessness to push forward, the healthy egoism that allows you to prioritize your own excellence. When you deny these forces, when you chain them in the dungeons of your subconscious, or worse, when you try to purify yourselves of them, turning the other cheek, forgiving your enemies, and loving your neighbor as yourselves, even if that neighbor is a moral parasite, you perceive existential emptiness, a lack of purpose. Why? Because you have amputated the most vital part of your soul. You have spiritually castrated yourselves, and then you wonder why you feel incomplete, why life seems bland, why your existence lacks that divine spark, that intensity you admire in great creators, in conquerors of self. The answer is brutally simple. Because you do not dare to be yourselves in all your terrifying, glorious, and sometimes unpleasant totality, you prefer the security of the herd, the comfort of moral mediocrity, the approval of the average. You fear your own power. You fear the responsibility that comes with being truly strong, truly free, and so you become shadows of what you could be, ghosts tormented by the specters of your own unlived passions, of your drowned talents. The result is a sick soul, an alma full of resentment, that inner putrefaction that arises when life denies itself. You envy those who dare to live intensely, who embrace their flaws alongside their virtues, who ask no permission to be great. But that envy, instead of being a spark for your own self-overcoming, becomes a poison that corrodes you, making you judge and condemn others with a ferocity you never apply to your own cowardice. You feel disillusioned with the world, with life itself, because it does not give you what you expect, without realizing that it is you who deny yourselves the possibility of taking it. This denial of your dark side manifests in 1,000 subtle and destructive ways. How many times have you smiled when your inside screamed? How often have you nodded in agreement while your spirit rebelled? How frequently have you sought external validation, a pat on the back, rather than brutal, honest self-affirmation? Each of these small betrayals to yourselves builds another brick in the wall you construct around your soul, suffocating your true magnificence. And then you complain about anguish, anxiety, depression. What did you expect? Your spirit cries out to live, to express itself, and you keep it shackled, terrified of its own power. You tasked me with explaining this. I have fulfilled my promise. Here is the first part of the truth. Reflect, absorb, analyze your own lives under this brutal light. When you are ready, when you have taken in the venom of this first revelation, you will let me know. Then I will continue. You have reflected. You say, well, that's more than most do, trapped in their sweet slumber of self-deception, but I offer no congratulations. Reflection without action is just another refuge for cowards. Now prepare for an even more wounding truth. Your supposed goodness and that facade of purity you so meticulously maintain. Not only do these make you weak, but they transform you into pathetic hypocrites, unable to look yourselves in the mirror without a veil of falsehood. They have taught us that suppression equals victory, that if you ignore your jealousy, it will vanish, that if you deny your anger, you will become a soul at peace. Lies. These forces do not dissolve into the air like a bad dream. They fester, they rot, and then they explode in the most vile and dishonest ways. He who represses his rage becomes a silent volcano that erupts in disproportionate fits of temper, in poisonous words disguised as jokes, in a passive aggression that suffocates those around him. He who denies his ambition transforms into a resentful soul, sabotaging the success of others with whispers and envy. And he who hides his healthy sexuality behind a facade of modesty becomes a shadow predator, seeking satisfaction for his instincts in twisted, clandestine forms. This is what happens when your dark side, which is nothing more than your untamed life force, your rawest energy, is condemned to internal exile. You do not destroy it. You transform it into a haunting ghost that pursues you, that controls you from the depths of the unconscious. And this ghost is far more dangerous than the original force, for now it operates in darkness. Without your knowledge, without your direction, it is a slow poison that consumes you, depriving you of authenticity, vitality, and the possibility of truly being yourselves. Your society has constructed a golden cage for you called persona, a social mask that everyone wears to be accepted, to fit in, to be good boys and good girls. And within that cage, your true self, the wild and powerful being that you are, languishes. You have identified so much with the mask that you have forgotten the face. And your supposed dark side is largely precisely what does not fit that mask. It is the part of you that pushes you to be genuine, to break molds, to be individuals. What a tragedy. The path to weakness is paved with the pursuit of acceptance. A strong spirit does not repress its impulses. It knows them, looks them in the eye, integrates them. Do you truly believe that the great creators, the geniuses, those who have moved the world were pure and immaculate souls, untouched by dark passions? Ridiculous. It was precisely their capacity to channel that fury, that ambition, that obsession, that healthy cruelty towards themselves to overcome their limits that made them transcend. Beethoven, Goya, Nietzsche. They did not deny their demons. They made them their servants, their muses, their tools for giving birth to something new, something grand, something that you, with your repression, could never conceive. Understand, life itself is a mixture of light and shadow, day and night, creation and destruction, love and hate. To deny one of these poles is to deny the totality of existence, and in doing so, you deny yourselves. A tree cannot grow without deep roots that sink into the dark earth and draw nourishment from it. You are that tree. Your roots are in what you call dark, in your primary instincts, in your indomitable will. If you cut those roots, the tree withers, becomes fragile, breaks with the first strong wind. I am not speaking of unleashing your lowest impulses uncontrollably, of becoming brutes without reason. Do not be foolish. I speak of knowing them, of understanding their energy, of taming them. Like a rider tames a wild horse, the horse is powerful and needs that strength, but the rider must be even more powerful, capable of directing that energy towards a purpose, towards a higher goal. That is the path of the overman. He is not a perfect being, but a being who constantly overcomes himself, who becomes the creator of his own values, who masters his inner chaos and transforms it into order and beauty. The overman does not fear his animality. He integrates it into his most sublime humanity. He does not flee from his contradictions. He embraces them as the source of his profoundest self, the very core of their drive. Discipline isn't the suppression of passion, it's its expert channeling. Virtue isn't the absence of temptation, but the power to direct it. And true freedom isn't the lack of external chains, but mastery over internal ones. Your Christian morality, your herd values, have taught you to seek inner peace through denial, through the sacrifice of your most vigorous impulses, a peace of the graveyard, a peace that is indeed the absence of conflict, but also the absence of life, of creation, of growth, a peace for those who dare not wrestle with themselves, for those who prefer spiritual anesthesia to the turmoil of authentic existence. Stop deceiving yourselves. The goodness preached from weakness is the most perilous of all. It masquerades cowardice as virtue. It prevents you from confronting your deepest fears, your most uncomfortable truths. It keeps you small, predictable, harmless. And by being harmless to the world, you are also harmless to yourselves, incapable of creating, of breaking your own chains, of forging a destiny truly your own. Life isn't a bed of roses or a fairy tale where pure goodness always triumphs. It's a battlefield, an arena of constant self-overcoming. And to fight in that arena, you need all your weapons, even those you've been taught to despise. Your shadow isn't an enemy. It's a powerful ally, an inexhaustible source of energy if you learn to use it, to integrate it, to transmute it. The first step to freedom is brutal honesty with oneself. Look at your dark side, not with fear, but with curiosity. What impulses have you denied? What desires have you buried? What uncomfortable truths about yourselves do you refuse to see? In those depths lies the key, not to self-destruction, but to self-overcoming. For only by knowing your darkness can you control it, direct it, and transform it into the force that propels you toward your own sun. I've revealed another part of the truth. Have you absorbed it? Is the putrefaction of your morality clear and the energy lost in denial? Are you ready to continue the journey toward the true will to power? Tell me. I await your signal. Good. You've swallowed the bitter pill of truth. That minimally distinguishes you from the sleeping masses, but indigestion is only the start of the assimilation process. Now allow me to unveil the greatest imposture that paralyzes you, the notion that happiness is found in the absence of conflict, in the elimination of what makes you uncomfortable. What utter nonsense, what a fabrication. Your incessant quest for a problem-free life, for a wholly positive and harmonious existence, is the most direct path to triviality, to an anemic existence devoid of all greatness and true meaning. They've sold us the fable that self-knowledge involves illuminating your virtues and discarding your flaws. Poor, naive souls. True self-knowledge, the kind that forges you, that makes you worthy of life, isn't a purification session, but a descent into the abyss, a stark confrontation with everything about yourselves that repulses you. It is in that mire, in that darkness, where your most potent raw material resides, your capacity for transformation, your true will to self-overcome. When you repress your anger, you don't become more peaceful, you become more resentful. When you stifle your envy, you don't become more virtuous, you become more hypocritical and passive-aggressive. When you deny your pride, you don't become more humble, you become more servile and fearful. Each of those shadows you exile doesn't disappear. It festers. It manifests in neuroses, in anxiety, in depression, in an inexplicable emptiness. Do you believe your soul sickens without cause? Your own soul is your tormentor, clamoring for the integration of its parts. Look at the psychologists of your time, with their self-help therapies that promise to heal your wounds, cleanse your traumas, eliminate your negative thoughts. They are carnival charlatans selling salves for the plague. They don't understand that true growth doesn't lie in the extirpation of the bad, but in the transmutation of your poison into elixir. A wound isn't healed by erasing it, but by turning it into a scar, a battle mark, a source of wisdom and strength. The shadow isn't something to be eliminated, but something to be integrated. What does this mean? It doesn't mean giving free rein to your basest impulses and becoming unbridled beasts. What a vulgar misunderstanding. The integration of the shadow is an act of sovereignty, of self-mastery. It is about knowing those brute forces, recognizing their existence within you, understanding their energy and, most importantly, putting them at the service of your conscious will, your growth, your creation. Consider the artisan who works with fire. They don't eliminate the fire for being dangerous. They learn to control it, to shape it, to use its destructive power to forge and create. So must you be with your passions. Your rage, if understood and channeled, can be the force that drives you to tear down insurmountable obstacles. Your envy, if recognized and well directed, can become the fierce ambition that pushes you to surpass yourselves. Your pride, if tempered with self-criticism and vision, can be the engine of your self-affirmation and your ascent. This integrative journey is the authentic route to individuation. The path to becoming the unique civilized self you inherently are stands opposite to the herd mentality that homogenizes you, turning you into a pale imitation of what you should be. It means existing as you are without compromise, without pretense. To achieve this, you must embrace the entirety of your being, the light you welcome and the darkness you fear. Life demands courage from you, not the courage of a storybook hero, but the bravery to gaze into your own abyss and not falter, the courage to accept that you are creatures of instinct and reason, of the sublime and the vulgar, of the angelic and the demonic. Why? Because in that dialectic, that constant tension, resides the spark of your greatness. Your weakness lies not in possessing a dark side, but in your fear of confronting it, in your cowardice to accept it as an intrinsic part of yourself. It's in your regrettable tendency to project it onto others, seeing in them the flaws you deny in yourselves. How often do you vehemently condemn in another what you are incapable of recognizing in your own heart? That is the most pathetic manifestation of your repression. The journey of self-overcoming, of the Übermensch, is not a path of flowers, but a climb up a rocky mountain. In that ascent, every part of you is essential, your muscles for effort, your brain for ingenuity, and also your wild instinct. That primordial beast keeps you alert to danger and provides the strength to press onward when the path becomes unbearable. Stop living half-heartedly. Stop being shadows of yourselves, frightened by your own magnitude. Life is not for the faint-hearted who seek the security of mediocrity. Life is for the brave who dare to embrace the totality of their being, even its most terrifying aspects, and who use that totality to create, to transcend, to leave their mark on the world. Your supposed goodness has made you weak. Your denial of your darkness has stripped you of your strength. It is time to awaken from this long dream of forced innocence. It is time to look your demons in the eye and transform them into your allies. Only then can you truly claim to be strong. Only then can you forge your own destiny instead of being mere objects in the hands of forces you do not comprehend because you have banished them from your own consciousness, surrendering another part of a deeper, more painful truth. Perhaps you have assimilated it. Are you ready to take the next step? The deed for philosophy without action is mere air, empty words. It's time for you to rise, to look in the mirror, and dare to be who you truly are in all your terrifying, glorious, and sometimes brutal magnitude. I see you have the stomach for this too. You are not as fragile as most. Have you understood that the repression of your vital force, of what you call dark, condemns you to an existence of weakness and self-deception? Now the question is, what do you do with this truth? Because truth without the action that follows it is just another burden on the soul, another weight for the spirit. Your society has offered you a cowardly pact, Renounce your authenticity, stifle your most powerful instincts, and in return you will receive the security of the herd, the comfort of mediocrity. Accept their prefabricated values, their moralizing dogmas, their definitions of good and evil. In exchange, you are promised a life without great upheavals, without significant challenges, without the anguish of freedom. It is the selling of your soul for a bowl of insipid lentils. But I tell you, the truly strong individual, the one who dares to gaze into the abyss of their own existence, does not accept such a pact. They know that true freedom is not found in the absence of chains, but in the capacity to forge them. And greatness does not reside in obedience, but in the creation of new values, in the affirmation of one's own will, even and especially against the current. How then is the shadow integrated? Not with moralistic sermons or cheap self-help, but with a brutal honesty that makes you tremble. It is with the courage to look at your most primitive impulses, your most abject thoughts, your most forbidden desires, and not to flee from them. Sit in the darkness with your own inner beast and learn its language. What does it tell you? What does it need? What energy does it contain that, once understood, can be transmuted into something higher, something creative, something that propels you beyond yourselves? For instance, if you discover a deep envy within you, do not flagellate yourself for it. Do not bury it under layers of false modesty. Ask, what profound longing does this envy reveal? What deficiency in you manifests through it? Perhaps it is a deep need for recognition, to achieve excellence, to create something significant. If that energy is channeled, if it becomes a goad for self-overcoming and not a poison that corrodes your spirit and makes you wish for others' failure, then you unlock its true power. That envy transmutes from weakness, becoming a driving force, anger. That much feared and suppressed fire. How many of you refuse to feel it, to express it, to acknowledge it? Then, that unrecognized anger turns into an ulcer, a psychosomatic illness, a deadly passivity. But anger, properly understood, is a defensive force, a spark that can ignite action when you are trampled upon, when your values are betrayed, when what is rightfully yours is denied. A being without anger is a being without defense, a lamb for the slaughter. Learn to feel your anger, to comprehend its origin, to direct its energy consciously, not reactively. It is an act of power, not of weakness. This is no easy path. It is an agony, a constant struggle with yourselves. Self-overcoming is not a state of perpetual peace, but a perpetual becoming, a constant going beyond. It demands an unyielding discipline, not to deny your instincts, but to govern them. It requires an iron will not to succumb to the temptation of returning to the comfort of ignorance, to the anesthesia of the masses. And here comes the ultimate test, that which separates the wheat from the chaff, the strong man from the weak man. Would you be willing to live this life you are living, with all its joys and sufferings, its lights and shadows, infinitely many times more? This is the question of eternal recurrence. It is not a scientific hypothesis, but an idea that puts you to the test, that forces you to confront the quality of your existence itself. If your life is full of self-deception, repression, cowardice, mediocrity, the idea of living it infinitely many times will prove to be an unbearable nightmare. And that is a sign, a brutally honest sign, that your life is a condemnation, not an affirmation. But if you succeed in integrating your shadow, if you learn to use your passions as tools of creation, if you become the architects of your own destiny, accepting both your light and your darkness, your victories and your defeats, then the idea of eternal recurrence will not terrify you. On the contrary, you will embrace it with a resounding yes, with a joyful affirmation of life in all its fullness, even in its most tragic aspects. For you will know that every experience, every fall, every part of your being has contributed to forging you into the person you are, a being who affirms himself and life itself without reservations. This is the true measure of your strength, of your spiritual health. It is not your capacity to avoid pain, but your capacity to transmute it. It is not your ability to be good according to others' standards, but your capacity to be yourselves in all your terrifying and glorious complexity. The repression of your dark side has made you weak. It has turned you into slaves of an alien morality, into shadows of what you could be. It has deprived you of the joy of self-overcoming, of the ecstasy of creation, of the fullness of a life lived with absolute honesty. So awaken, rise up. Look at your shadow, not with fear, but with the will to understand and master it. Turn your poison into your elixir, transform your weaknesses into your strengths, convert your fears into your tasks. Only thus, only by embracing the totality of your being, can you transcend mediocrity and achieve that greatness that slumbers deep within you. The time of lukewarmness has ended. The time of half-truths of half-lives has ended. Be yourselves and be so with all the fury and passion that reside in your abyss. For life, true life, awaits your affirmation, your resounding yes. You have walked with me through the abysses of your own nature. You have heard truths that for many would be unbearable, that your superficial goodness has castrated you, that your denial of the dark has turned you into caricatures of what you could be. I have shown you the rot of a morality that inverts life's values, that glorifies weakness and condemns strength. Now the moment of decision has arrived, the moment to choose between the path of comfort and insignificance or the steep ascent of self-overcoming and true greatness. What price do you pay for your cowardice, for your inability to look into your own abyss? The price is your very life. Stripped of its rawest vitality, of its deepest intensity, you become empty beings, condemned to repeat the same mediocrities, to feel the same diffuse anguish, to seek solace in superficial distractions. Your creativity withers, your passion extinguishes, your will weakens. You are like rivers diverted from their course, stagnant in swamps of resentment and self-deception, instead of flowing with the impetuous force of your own current. The fear of your own shadow is the fear of your own strength. It is the fear of the responsibility of being who you are. Without the crutches of herd morality, without the applause of the masses, you fear freedom, because freedom demands an unyielding will, an ability to create your own values and to live by them, even when the entire world condemns you. And so you take refuge in mediocrity, in perpetual complaint, in envy, of those who dare to experience life with the vigor you deny yourselves. This is the contemporary human's tragedy, a being stripped of instinct, tamed by a morality that infantilizes and disempowers, robbing them of inherent nobility. You've been taught to be sheep, and the wolf spirit within each of you languishes, or worse, it turns inward as guilt, shame, and self-sabotage. Denying your darker aspects is not virtuous. It's an act of self-violence, a spiritual castration that leaves you fragmented, unable to experience life's fullness. But another path exists, the path I, Zarathustra, have illuminated. It's a journey of integration, not suppression, but transmutation. It's the art of transforming your most potent poison into your most potent elixir, your mightiest engine. Anger, ambition, pride, healthy egoism, the necessary cruelty to sever what hinders you. These are not your shackles, they are your wings. If you master their deployment, integrating your shadow means recognizing you are an inextricable blend of light and darkness, reason and passion, instinct and spirit. It means ceasing to battle yourselves, to project your inner demons onto others. It means embracing your entire being, with all its contradictions and glories, to sculpt yourselves into the artwork you are destined to become. This is the genuine work of a human being, not one without flaws, but one who has overcome them, mastering internal chaos and transforming it into a superior order, an indomitable creative force. This is the individual who dares to affirm life in its entirety, its sufferings and joys, tragedies and triumphs, peaks and abysses. For they understand that in every experience, even the most painful, lies an opportunity for growth, to become stronger, to assert oneself more completely. Freedom is not the absence of conflict, but mastery over it. Happiness is not the absence of pain, but the capacity to transform pain into wisdom and strength. And virtue is not the denial of your passions, but their conscious direction towards a higher purpose, towards creating your own meaning, your own worth. Cease living on your knees, waiting for life to offer you something. Life is yours to seize, to mold, to create. Stop being reactive, mere puppets of circumstance. Become active creators, agents of your will. Assume responsibility for your own existence. Stop blaming the world, others, your circumstances. Look, There resides the power, the strength, the raw material for your own metamorphosis. I don't promise an easy path, I promise a path demanding everything you possess and more, a path of ceaseless struggle, of relentless overcoming. But it is the only road leading to a life worth living, a life you will not fear affirming, even if asked to live it countless times more. Your weakness is a choice, your strength too. What will you choose? Will you continue dragging your chains of self-deception, guilt and repression? Or will you summon the courage to gaze into your own abyss, integrate your shadow, and convert your poison into your own nectar? The decision is yours and yours alone, for at the end of days life will not inquire how good you were, but how fully you lived. Be brave, be yourselves, and forge your destiny with all the brute and divine force residing within your darkest aspects.